Pitch. Hunter fires a fastball, and Perez rips into it for a long drive to left field. It's going, gone for a home run into the left field bleachers. Perez hit 17 homers the first half of the season for the Reds, and this one gives Tony an added big thrill. And now the National League lead.
There are two kinds of people in this world. Those who love Old Bay, and those who've never tried it. Because once you taste this Chesapeake Bay seasoning, you'll immediately be turned into a canvert. Old Bay goes great on seafood, chicken, corn on the cob, french fries, pretty much anything. Join the Legion of Canverts in America. Pick up a can today. And before you know it, this could be you. Old Bay, the can that connects us.
Tied, 3 apiece. Griffey at second base. Morgan is at first. They're worried about Griffey at second base. Base hit left field. We're going to have a race. Here comes Griffey. Here comes the throw. Cincinnati wins it 4-3. Tony Perez comes through with a big base hit, a clutch base hit, and look at him mob Perez around first base. Cincinnati on a base hit by Perez.
The next 2-2. Davis to left and will hit. Oh my! It's gone! Santa Maria!
From high atop the Robinson Gearing Studio Complex and straight out of God's country, Pawleys Island, South Carolina, the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network proudly presents Backwards K-Pod. And now, here's the host of the show, Jake Robinson.
I never move in slow-mo. Welcome to my dojo. The little body so-so. I'm shooting like fro-yo. Focus like a GoPro. Ripping up this promo. Check out the scoreboard. Bring something with no nose. Going. Yo, it's going. You're hard to stop. The Jake got strong and mighty. Undefeated. I mean it. Pull up the pot, screw it down, then read it. Produced, directed, and mixed. Dog on your lips and eyes. I spit backwards. Make a tip, any tip. Get onto it. I got ridiculous vibes without forcing it. You sit at home crying like a girl while I spread the gospel around the world. Yo, the pods are written behind tracks that make things smooth with the groove to make ears want to live. Add a little cut and a rhythm to back it up. Another show to my name, now watch me stack them up. You think another way Brad back, but this ain't no ad check. My hobbies the rhyme, some people try to be black, but bang, about time I come out. Call the show, BKB, now let me turn it out. Yo, name take the state, put a 71. David, you know what time it is, I'm packing them guns. Yo, experience, I've been a witness to glory, and that's why I collect ball players and their stories. You heard? So, once again, back is the incredible, the pod animal, Jake the Snake Robinson from the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network. I'm coming out of Pawleys Island, South Carolina, half man, half podcast machine, back in the Captain Kirk chair, shields down, photons up. Prepare to engage on this week's digital audio program that I call Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. What up, what's cracking, freaks? Welcome back into the dojo for chapter 194 in the historical, biographical, and anthological accounting of the players, characters, moments, managers, stadiums, and all the pop culture references that have shaped our perspective and knowledge about this beautiful tapestry of life we call baseball. I'm Jake Robinson. I got your hookup. Holler if you hear me. I'm joined, as usual, in the studio today with my number one stunner, the chocolate tabby of tenaciousness, my boy Gunner, chilling in the conductor's booth of our BKP time travel scene, Diesel, sipping on his catnip-infused Earl Grey tea, waiting to take us on our way to this week's baseball adventure. If I can get all of you stragglers hanging out on the Terrapin Station platform to kiss and hug your loved ones goodbye, we can load up this train and be on our way. As I stare out to the west of Terrapin, I can see clearly into our majestically manicured Jewel Box Retro Ballpark as our hometown BKP 9 have already come bounding out of the dugout to take the field in tonight's contest. Our starting pitcher has completed his warm-up tosses. The catcher has gone down to second with an absolute seed on the bag. The infielders are throwing that rock around the diamond with a little snap and swagger, and the umpire has cleaned up the plate and said those two magical words that kick off our ritualistic summertime tribal dance: play ball. As the visiting team's leadoff stick approaches the dish, that's my cue, as usual, to get this train rolling down the tracks. I'm calling all aboard, as I will have Gunner set our time and destination this week to May 14th, 1942, to the town of Ciego de Avila in Camaguay, Cuba, for the Genesis backstory of this week's profile dig into Hall of Famer Tony Perez. So, hurry, step right up, get in where you fit in, climb aboard our marvel of science and engineering, kick up your shoes, open your kimonos, get yourself nice and comfortable for today's trip, as Gunner has us picking up the necessary quantum speeds needed to crack 6.0 gigahertz of RF on our spectrum analyzer. He's creating vast, anomalous traversable wormholes, blurring the lines of dimension and reality, tilting the celestial scales in our favor, all in an effort to get us safely back to our preferred time and destination. And if you're an OG on this program, you know already that I'm a huge mark for the Big Red Machine team of the 1970s. And in my mind, they are unquestionably the greatest National League team ever assembled, 1 through 8, in the pre-Universal DH era. And if Pete Rose and Joe Morgan were the catalyst spark plugs for the Big Red Machine, while catcher Johnny Bench was the driver, then Tony Perez was the vaunted power unit and chassis unit of the said Red Machine, as one of the national pastime's greatest run producers, driving in big run after big run. Of the 1,652 RBIs that Tony collected over his 23-year career, the slugging first baseman and 7-time All-Star totaled 954 of those RBIs during the 1970s, second only to Hall of Famer and former Reds teammate Johnny Bench, who had 1,013. His propensity for the big knock was on full display in to the country in Game 7 of the 1975 World Series thriller between the Reds and the Boston Red Sox, October 2nd, 1975. The Big Red Machine is reeling from the Game 6 marathon played the night before that saw the Red Sox tie up the series at 3 games apiece in dramatic fashion on Carlton Fisk's walk-off dong in the bottom of the 12th inning. And going into that year's Fall Classic, the Cincinnati Reds were heavily favored to take the crown back to the Queen City, as they had lost the 1970 and 1972 World Series to the Orioles and A's, respectively, as well as the 1973 playoffs, the NLDS, CS against the Mets. And The Reds were widely considered the National League team of the 1970s, but by the middle of the decade, they had yet to win a World Series, and they basically had laid an egg in 73, losing to a vastly inferior Mets team in the 1973 post. By 1975, the pressure's on for the city, the organization, and the players. By Game 7 of the World Series, the Red Sox appeared to have all the momentum, and it seemed as though the Reds were going to lose in the postseason for the 4th time in 5 years. The Red Sox could continue to ride the wave of optimism when they bust out for 3 runs in the 3rd inning off of Reds ace Don Gullett. Meanwhile, Spaceman Bill Lee is keeping the Reds offense off balance for 5 2/3 innings when Tony Perez steps to the dish. Now, Big Doggie was 0 for 2 in the game, and really up to that point, it had an unmemorable season, going 0 for his first 15 with 7 strikeouts up until a second at bat in Game 5. But for his part, Doggie never lost his optimism, never lost his smile despite his struggles and the friendly ribbing from his teammates and coaches, who always looked up to him as Mr. Clutch during his 12-year tenure with the Redlegs. With Johnny Bench on second base in the top of the 6th, and after a first pitch fastball called ball to Tony, the big dog double clutches and launches a mammoth shot over the green monster of Fenway Park after a slow developing eephus pitch by the Spaceman. And the Reds now only trailed by 1, and suddenly the momentum and the complexion of the game and series, it turned with that big hit. The Reds tied the game up in the 7th, and they won it with a run in the 9th for Cincinnati's first World Championship in 35 years. The National League team of the 1970s had finally made their mark, solidified their legacy, and their future Hall of Fame first baseman had turned the tide in their favor with one big swing of his bat in Game 7. And here we are, freaks, as Gunner has us tearing through that last reversible wormhole to bring us here to May 14th, 1942, Ciego de Avila in Camaguay, Cuba, where parents Jose Manuel and Teodoro Miguel Perez are welcoming a new son into the world, Ignacio Miguel Perez. Now, the family unit would expand by 2 with the birth of his brother and sister, and the Perezes all lived in a modest 2-bedroom row home owned by the sugar mill where Tony's father and eventually Tony would work. As a teenager, Tony began working for the mill, putting stamps on outgoing exports, but he most remembers those days as being all about school, work, and playing baseball. He also wistfully remembers his humble diet being mainly chicken. That's all I ate. And the poultry-based diet lended to him growing into a slender 6'2" frame and 152 pounds. And friends and relatives jokingly called him Flaco, which is Spanish for the word skinny. In 1960, as a 17-year-old teenager, Tony signs with the Havana Sugar Kings of the International League. The team was owned by prominent businessman Bobby Maduro, the self-proclaimed Sugar King of Havana. And the city of Havana had like this working agreement with the Cincinnati Reds. Red Scout Tony Pacheco is fascinated by the raw talent that Perez displays on the Cuban sandlots. And Perez idolizes fellow countryman Minnie Minoso, who left the island and had a successful major league career from 1949 to 1964. And he becomes obsessed with following in his hero's footprints. Pacheco offers Tony the opportunity to fulfill his team dreams, offering him a contract with a signing bonus for basically the price of a plane ticket to Miami, Florida, and a $2.50 exit visa. He leaves Cuba right before communist dictator Fidel Castro restricted the ability for Cuban citizens to travel out of the country legally. And Perez is criticized back home for leaving the country to play baseball in America, but the political environment descending upon the island nation at the time, it causes tremendous anxiety for the young ball player in pursuit of his dreams. But Perez's love for the game and competition, it forced Tony into making the tough decision of leaving his family and home, knowing that he may never be allowed to return. And during his first few off seasons, he would go home to Cuba, but it became more and more difficult to leave the country in time for Red Spring training camp. So by 1963, Perez began spending the offseason in the United States and eventually Puerto Rico, never to return to Cuba until 1972 to visit his parents. Perez breaks in with the Reds originally as a third baseman, but his glove is below average, his arm is erratic. He posed 31, 42, and 30 errors at the hot corner in his first 3 years of pro ball, and eventually he's moved across the infield to man first base. His baseball career starts at Class D Geneva of the New York Penn League in 1960, and fielding deficiencies aside, it's clear that the kid has talent. In 1961, at the age of 19, he returns to Geneva, and he has a bust-out season with the Lumber. He bats .348, drops 27 bombs, drives in 132 runs. In 1962, he's promoted to Class B Rocky Mount of the Carolina League. He's hitting .292 with 18 dingers when he breaks his leg, causing him to miss several weeks at the end of the campaign. In 1963, he's moved up to AA Macon of the Sally League, hitting .309 in 69 games with 11 home runs. He spent the end of the season with the AAA team in San Diego, where team skipper Dave Bristol urges his young prospect to put some meat on his bones. So Perez takes his manager's challenge to heart. He gains 40 pounds of muscle in the offseason before returning to San Diego in 1964. He bats .304 with 34 home runs, 107 RBI, earning him the PCL MVP award, as well as a call-up to the show in late July. On July 26, 1964, he makes his big league debut versus the Pittsburgh Pirates at Crosley Field. He starts at first base. He walks in his first big league at bat versus Bucco's southpaw pitcher Joe Gibbons before going 0-2 in a Reds 7-1 victory. He goes on to appear in 11 more games, playing first base in 6 of them and appearing as a pinch hitter in 6 games. He goes 2 for 25 in those 12 games, but the Reds front office is encouraged by the prospect's high ceiling and his minor league resume, and that's enough to make them go all in on Tony with tempered enthusiasm about his future. During the next 2 seasons, Tony finds himself in a platoon situation at first base with Gordy Coleman, where he slowly but surely begins displaying his power and clutch run production. In 1967, he has moved to third base to make room at first base for our prospect Lee May. And much to his surprise, Los Angeles Dodgers manager Walt Austin selects him as a reserve player on the National League All-Star squad for the Midsummer Classic to be played at the Big A in Anaheim. The game would be his breakthrough in baseball moment when he enters the game in the 10th inning of a 1-1 tie. His first All-Star bat, and the 12th inning ends with a strikeout. But he looks for atonement when he steps into the box at the top of the 15th, homering against Kansas City A's ace Catfish Hunter to give the National League an eventual 2-1 victory. He finished off the 1967 season hitting .296 with 26 home runs and 102 RBI in 156 games. His 102 ribbies began a string of 11 consecutive seasons in which he drove in at least 90 runs, and his All-Star game was the first of 7. In 1968, Perez batted .282 with 18 big flies, 92 rib sandwiches. In 1969, Tony blossoms as a power hitter with 37 home runs and 122 RBI, and Perez is now an established star in the prime of his baseball powers, playing for an emerging powerhouse of a team that's literally standing on the precipice of taking the baseball universe by storm. After the 1969 campaign, the Reds hired an obscure minor league manager named George Sparky Anderson to lead the team. And under Sparky, the Reds get off to a red-hot start, the best start in franchise history. After 100 games, the Reds sat with a record of 70-30, with Perez and Johnny Bench leading the way into the historic season. For his part, Perez topped his previous year's production with a .317 BA, 40 home runs, and 129 RBI. On July 16th, Perez hits the first home run in the history of the Pittsburgh Pirates' new Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He finishes third in the National League in the voting for league MVP behind his superstar teammate Bench and the Cubs' Billy Williams. After their incredible 100-game start, the Reds come back to earth. They play 500 ball the rest of the way, but they still won 102 games, defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates in the NLCS to capture the National League pennant. They would lose the World Series against Baltimore Orioles in 5 games, and Perez struggles against Orioles pitching, batting .056 with no home runs and no runs driven in the series. Even though they lost the World Series, expectations for Perez and his teammates are now extremely high. And perhaps not surprisingly, the Reds stumbled to a 4th place finish in the NL West in 1971 due to injuries to several stars at some point during the season, underproduction. Perez was solid, but not spectacular. He hits .269 with 25 home runs, 91 RBI. In November of 1971, the Reds literally pull off the trade heist of the decade when they send Lee May, Tommy Helms, and Jimmy Stewart to the Houston Astros for Joe Morgan, Cesar Geronimo, Jack Bellingham, Ed Armbrister, and Dennis Menke. And by moving Lee May, it opened the door for Perez to stick ownership to the first base position, and Perez rewards Reds management with a solid season, batting .283 with 21 home runs, 90 RBIs in 1972. The Reds won the NLCS once again over the Buccos, but disappointingly lost the World Series in 7 games to the Oakland A's. Tony hits .435 in the Fall Classic, but again, failed to drop Dong and drives in only 2 runs in the series. The Reds would win the West again in 1973, with Perez putting in a productive season, batting .314, 27 home runs, 101 RBI, but the Reds would fall to the Mets in the League Championship Series, and once again, Perez struggles on the big stage, going 2 for 22 for .091 batting average. By now, the team is a bona fide Red Machine, albeit underachieving Red Machine. They had a lineup with superb blend of power and speed, but they didn't quite have the pitching depth of the Orioles, A's, and Mets, which had stifled the Reds in 3 of the last 4 postseasons. And in 1974, another pitching-rich team in the Dodgers beat out the Reds by 4 games for the NL West title. Perez's batting average dips at .265, but he hits 28 home runs, driving 101 respectably, while making his first All-Star game in 4 years as a reserve. Despite his display of clutch hits and power, there was internal discussions about possibly moving the Cuban star on a trade package for pitching. Now, nothing ever materialized from the scuttlebutt, thankfully for his teammates, who looked upon Tony as a clubhouse leader, and they nicknamed him Big Dog or Doggie. In 1975, the Reds get off to a slow start and sat with a 19-19 record in mid-May, with critics and pundits bemoaning their lack of starting pitching compared to the traditional baseball powers of the day. By now, Perez is slightly past his prime, and, Johnny Bench is getting up in age. He ain't no spring chicken no more. Can't catch every day anymore. Morgan was good, but not great. The media would complain that Sparky was much too quick to pull the starting pitchers, and they questioned whether Sparky Anderson could lead the team of stars to the ultimate goal. And, that sounds silly now, but that was something in the press that was going around. The team had a hole at third base on both sides of the ball. They were good, but they had flaws. Well, Sparky makes a wise transitional maneuver when he moves Pete Rose to the hot corner to make room in left field for young power hitting outfielder and George Foster. And with this move, the Reds catch fire and dominate the National League to a final record of 108 wins and 54 losses, beating out the Dodgers by 20 games in the NL West. Morgan turned his season around, elevated his game to another level, winning the National League MVP, making him the 4th Red Leg to win the honor, and for the previous 6 seasons of the decade. Rose, he was adequate at his 4th position, third base. Bench continued to set the standard behind the dish, and the pitching staff took a step forward with dudes like Gullett, Billingham, Gary Nolan, Raleigh Eastwood, Clay Carroll, and others emerging as, this cohesive staff. The Gold Gloves of Bench, Morgan, Dave Concepcion, and Cesar Geronimo up the middle was unprecedented. By the end of the year, the embattled Sparky Anderson was now considered a baseball genius. What? Yeah, there you go. And the Big Dog was consistently great on and off the diamond as usual. The Big Red Machine clubhouse was tight, but it was full of ego, and there were plenty of jealousies and insecurities with players forming cliques. It was Big Doggie who kept the team anchored and loose. Tony was an agitator. He rebelled in making fun of his star-studded teammates to keep them humble. Concepcion and Geronimo, they looked up to him for Latino leadership, while the others relied on his veteran leadership. Perez had the ability to relate to the biggest star on the team or the last man on the bench. On the field, he remained a rock of consistencies, batting .282 with 20 home runs, 109 RBI. In the NLCS, the Reds would choke out a solid Pittsburgh Pirates team in a 4-game sweep. Big Doggie has the best NLCS of his career. He bats .417 with a home run, 4 RBI, as the team roars into the Fall Classic. Fellow Cuban, wily Red Sox right-handed pitcher Louis Tiant emerged as an early star in the series after shutting out the Big Red Machine in Game 1. The offense sputtered in Game 2 and 3, but the Reds were able to steal 1-run victories in both of those games. In Game 4, Tiant comes back. He stymies the all-star lineup once again. And the creeping, pervading thought and question among the steamheads of the day is, are the Reds and their all-star lineup going to come up short once again on the big stage? And where the hell is Tony Perez? Tony goes hitless in the first 4 games of the street series. He struck out 7 times. However, Big Doggie shrugs off the slump like a bad case of Please, baby, melting 2 home runs in Game 4 with 4 rib sandwiches in a Reds win to take a 3-2 series lead. The epic Game 6 goes to the Sox after Carlton Fitz's dramatic walk-off and extra innings to even the series up at 3 games apiece. Perez fired his bat once again in Game 7, dropping dong on Billy's lips, leading the Reds to a victory in the decisive Game 7. And Perez was the lightning rod and leader for his teammates to rally around. The venerable team veteran finally had his ring. And even though he only hit .179 in the series, he still displayed his penchant for the big knock with 7 RBIs in the series. For an encore, the Reds won 102 games in 1976 to win the NL West crown by 10 games over the Dodgers. Then they swept the Philadelphia Phillies in the NLCS for a return back to the World Series, this time to face the New York Yankees, who they would sweep for a back-to-back championship title. The big dog comes through big against Yankees ace Catfish Hunter as his 2-out single of the night drives in Ken Griffey Sr. to win Game 2. It was the first time that a team had swept their way through the postseason since the introduction of the expanded playoff format that began in 1969. By now, Perez is 34 years old, a leader in the clubhouse, and consistently productive on the field. During the regular season, he hit .260 with 19 home runs, 91 RBI. Morgan won his 2nd straight league MVP, while Bench, Rose, Griffey, Concepcion, Foster, Geronimo all continued their superstar play, and as a group, they earned the moniker of the Great 8. In December of 1975, the landscape of Major League Baseball would forever be changed by the Players Union when they break the reserve clause held by the owners over their players as property, opening the door for free agency. Small market teams like the Reds began to see the writing on the wall with the roster chock full of superstars ready to hit the open market. and Reds GM Bob Halsam, unable or unwilling to retain his grip on his roster, began selling off spare parts of the Big Red Machine dynasty. His very first move, is to ship Doggie and relief pitcher Will McEnany to the Montreal Expos for pitchers Woody Pryman and Dale Murray. And just like that, the mayor of Riverfront, as fellow fans and teammates dubbed him, was headed to Canada in a stunning move. Halsam, for his part, underestimated the intangibles that Doggie brought to the team. He thought that the Reds would be better with Dan Dreitz at first base, who was 9 years younger than Tony and a cheaper option. And he figured that with the conjunction of some additional arms from the staff, the Reds wouldn't miss a beat. But the Reds would finish in second place to the Dodgers in each of the next 2 seasons, and as the Big Red Machine would never make the World Series again, and would lose the NLCS to the Pirates in 1979. Perez played in Montreal for 3 years, from 1977 to 1979. In those 3 years as an Expo, Tony hit .280 with 46 home runs, 242 RBI. He left the Expos as a free agent after the 1979 season and signed with the Boston Red Sox. His bat comes back to life. He hits .275 with 25 home runs and 105 ribbies. I mean, Fenway Park does him good. The 1980 season would be the last season that he would ever play in more than 100 games. He played with the Red Sox for 2 more years, mostly as a designated hitter, before being released in November of 1982. He then signs with the Phillies in 1983, reuniting with former teammates Joe Morgan and Pete Rose to form the Wheeze Kids, which was a playful nod to the Phillies' 1950 team of youngsters that averaged 26 years of age going to the World Series, and they called themselves the Whiz Kids. So, with Rose, Morgan, and Perez serving as elder team leaders, the Wheeze Kids were born. Perez batted .241 with 6 home runs in 91 games during the 1983 campaign, and was a solid veteran presence, pushing the Phillies to the 1983 World Series against the Baltimore Orioles. He started 2 games in the Fall Classic, and for the second time, he, Rose, and Morgan lost the World Championship to the Birds when the Orioles take the chip in 5 games. At the conclusion of the 1983 campaign, Perez's career comes full circle as a prodigal son makes his return to the Queen City to once again play for the Cincinnati Reds. By now, he is in his 40s and holding on to a spot on the roster as a bench player for the next 3 years. And by now, the glory years of the Big Red Machine is over, but Perez is overjoyed to reunite with Rose again in 1984 when Pete is hired to be the Reds player manager. In 3 years, he plays just over 70 games. 2 of those seasons were mediocre by his high lofty standards, but in 1985, he bats .328 with 6 home runs and 33 RBI. Perez retires after the 1986 season with a .279 career batting average, 2,732 hits, and 379 home runs. He played in 5 World Series and was a 7-time All-Star. In 2000, the Big Dog takes his rightful place in the Pantheon of Immortals, and the Reds retire his iconic number 24 for posterity. And even though he will surely be forever remembered as a Cincinnati Red, he was the very first player elected into the Hall who played for the Montreal Expos. Tony would coach the Reds from 1987 to 1992. He started coaching on the Rose, and that continued during the Lou Piniella era. That included a spot on the coaching staff during the Cincinnati Reds' improbable World Championship win over the Oakland A's in 1990. In 1993, he was named as a Reds manager, but he is inexplicably and unceremoniously fired after 44 games with a record of 20 and 24, and he's replaced by Davey Johnson. The Reds were sitting in 5th place on the NL West when he's given the pink slip, and the team remained there at the end of the year with Davey at the helm. In late May 2001, he succeeded the fired John Bowles as the manager of the Florida Marlins, finishing 4th in the NL East. Jim Torborg would replace him in 2002, and Perez became the assistant to the general manager. As of February 2026, Tony and his wife Patuca have had a 63-year devoted marriage with 2 sons, Victor and Eduardo, who both went on to play pro ball. Eduardo played for the Halos, Reds, Cards, Rays, Indians, and Mariners from 1993 to 2006. He's also been an analyst on ESPN, a hitting coach for the Fish in 2011. And Victor played for the Reds' single-A Billings farm team in the Pioneer League. The return of the Cold War between the United States and Cuba has only exacerbated the tide of baseball defectors coming to America from the communist island nation. In October of 2017, for the first time in over 60 years, 2 million Cubans, many of them baseball-crazy seamheads, could listen to the World Series on the radio the same way that Tony and his father were able to listen to the 1955 World Series between the Dodgers and Yankees at the old sugar mill in central Violeta. In 1960, Tony Perez took advantage of safe passage to the United States, as did 14,000 other Cuban children over a 2-year period during Operacion Pedro Pan, a reality that could never take place in today's political climate in America. Now, the re-raising of the coconut curtain between the two nations, it does nothing but stunt youth and imagination on both sides of the 93-mile, 150-kilometer wide Straits of Florida. Hopefully one day there will be a peace between the two nations, and both places will be freely reached and respected without either government curtailing it. The baseball story of the big dog, Tony Perez, is as relevant now as it will ever be. And I think this is the point where I twist this bad boy around the horn like 5, 4, 3. Put a big, beautiful backwards K next to Tony Perez's name in our scoreboard, scorebook, and have Gunner get all of you safely back to your loved ones, patiently awaiting your arrival to Terrapin Station. But before I pot these mics down till our next baseball adventure, let's take one last look at those, so impressive stats and accolades the great Tony Perez left behind on his Hall of Fame resume. Atanasio Regal Perez, a.k.a. Tony Perez, a.k.a. the mayor of Riverfront, a.k.a. Big Doggie. Born May 14, 1942, in Ciego de Avila, Camaguay, Cuba. Attended Violetas Central High School in Cuba. And on July 26, 1964, Tony Perez became just the 12,264th man in the history of the planet Earth to join the Major League fraternity when he makes his big league debut going 0-2 with a walk versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. 23-year Major League career with the Reds, Expos, Red Sox, and Phillies. 53.9 wins above replacement, 2,777 games, 10,861 plate appearances, 1,272 runs scored, 2,732 hits, 505 doubles, the 61st most two-baggers in the game's history, 79 triples, 379 home runs, 1,652 RBIs, the 32nd most in the game's history. 48 stolen bases, 33 times caught, 1,867 strikeouts to 925 walks, 4,532 total bases, the 48th most ever. At 279, 341, 463 slash line, an 804 OPS, and a 122 OPS plus. Two-time World Series champion, 7-time All-Star, 1967 All-Star Game MVP, 1980 Lou Gehrig Memorial Award winner, 1975 August NL Player of the Month, 2-time NL Player of the Week. In 1998, the Cincinnati Reds inducted Tony into the Reds Hall of Fame. In 2000, Tony received 385 of 499 possible votes for a 77.7% clip to earn induction into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, in his 9th season of eligibility. Later that year, the Reds retired his number 24 for posterity. In 2016, the Reds unveil a bronze statue and Tony's likeness that sits at the Great American Ballpark's main entrance on Joe Nuxle Way, and it serves as a meeting place for fans going into the yard to watch a game. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seamen of all ages, this has been the story of the big doggie, Tony Perez. And I want to thank all of you seamheads for lending me your ears this week. It's my absolute honor to be this game's historical gatekeeper for this audience. Please remember to share this grassroots program with all your seaman buddies. Rate and review my performance as you see fit. As Gunner has us racing back up the tracks to get you back to Terrapin Station, I see the Tony Perez bio getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. So, with that, I turn my steely-eyed attention to I never say die baseball hydra. I reach under my commode, pull out my katana blade, and I chop the head off that beast, only to see 2 more baseball topics appear in its place. In our next show, you know, there have been a lot of great left-handed pure hitters. Ichiro, Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Ty Cobb. Well, next week, I'll be examining the baseball life of arguably the greatest right-handed pure hitter in the history of the game. I don't even think it's debatable when I detail the life and times of the Raja, the great Rogers Hornsby. But check it out. Y'all already know. That's another story for another pod here at Backwards K Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless. and win the day. Parents, if you see your seed sitting on the couch like a bored and unproductive AF, by all means, grab a ball and a couple of gloves, then take those little monkeys outside and play a game of catch. Me and my partner in crime, Charlie Guns, we throwing our Gunnar Hendersons high in the sky, y'all. That's our number 2s. As in peace. We got the Raja on deck, the great Rogers Hornsby. Sounds like fun. See ya.